the consumer get influenced by the two factors. So one is the internal factor and another one is the external factor. Consumer research process is a basic research that is conducted by the researcher to know about the taste and preferences of the consumer. The business environment consists of two factors, that is internal environment and the external environment. Social class is a group of people who share equal position in the society. Hello everybody, a warm welcome to one and all. I am Mr. Hemant Kumar from the Department of Commerce and Management, Vidhyaashram First Aid College, the Temple of Excellence. Today we stepped into the second session of the Unit 1 of the consumer behavior, that is Introduction to the Consumer Behavior. Today's session is consumer research process and also the factors influencing the consumer behavior. So, in the consumer research process, to know about the consumer, the marketer used to conduct some kind of research to know the consumer behavior and the factors influencing the consumer behavior. So, there are various factors that is influencing the consumer behavior which influence the customer to purchase the product or a service. By moving forward, consumer research process. What do you mean by consumer research process? Consumer research process is a basic research that is conducted by the researcher to know about the taste and preferences of the consumer, so that the marketer get an idea to manufacture the product as per the taste and preferences of the customer. And the consumer research process is a process which is conducted to know the consumer behavior. The consumer research process is consist of 7 steps. The first among them is identify or formulation of problems or opportunities. This is the first step in the consumer research process. So, in the first step of the research process, the marketer used to identify the problems that the customers are facing and the opportunities that are available in the market. Say for an example, consumer is facing a problem from the product, or else like if there is any decline in the sales of the product, the marketer used to find the problem which is faced by the consumer and he tried to overcome from his problem through the research process. And also the marketer used to find the opportunities in the market. So marketer used to find the opportunities that is available in the market so that he can occupy the space in the market. And also while developing a new product line, the marketer used to collect all the information or the desires of the customer, and hence he can manufacture the product or he can provide the product as per the demand of the customer, as per the need and want of the customer, as per the taste and preferences of the customers. Hence, in the first step, the researcher had analyzed the situation and he find the problem that the customers are facing. Hence, we are specific about the topic for which we are conducting the research. The next step, that is the establishing the design for market research. So, here researcher used to establish the design to conduct the market research. So, there are two kinds of designs to conduct the market research, that is the descriptive and the casual design. So, the descriptive design is all about the calculated methods such as mean, median and mode. The casual design is the regression analysis which is used to formulate the combination of 2 or more variables. The next step is the choosing the basic technique of research. So, the researcher used to select the technique for the research. So, he may go with the two technique, that is the market survey and the observation. In the market survey, the researcher collect the data directly from the market, that is the first hand data, and also it is known as the primary data. So hence this market survey is conducted to know the situation of the market, challenges that the market is facing, and the opportunities that is available in the market. And the second step is the observation. Observation is a second-hand data that is already collected with the other researchers, where the researcher is going to refer the old data. Hence, these are the second-hand data or the secondary data, that is the observation. Moving forward, select the best sampling process. Here, we are going to pick a small amount of data that is required to our survey. It is of two types, that is probability sampling and non-probability sampling. In probability sampling, we have to choose any one sampling methodology. Either we have to go with the probability sampling or non-probability sampling. If we go with the probability sampling, it is cost and time consuming, but if we go with the non-probability sampling, it does not require as much cost as the probability and it does not require as much time as a probability sampling. The next step is the collection of data. Here in this process, the researcher used to collect the data from the various aspects such as survey in the target market. So he conduct a survey in the target market and he find the answer for the questions that he have. And the second step is he collect the information by the direct marketing. So by direct marketing process, he may collect all the information. It may through the email marketing or it may through the any other source of direct marketing. And he used to collect the data from the market mediators and also from the government reports, that is a second-hand data, and personal interaction with the public. Hence, he used to collect the primary data by interacting directly with the public, that is nothing but the face-to-face interaction. The next step is the analysis of the data. So, here in this step, the researcher used to analyze the data that he had collected. So, the researcher had collected the abundant data. Among those data, he used to collect the data that is required to his research, the data which is convenient to his research. Hence, the researcher collects the very small amount of data among the abundant of data which is beneficial for his research work. While analyzing the data, he go through some statistical tools, that is correlation, regression, chi-square test, E-test, F-test and the ANOVA. In the next step, the researcher prepare the report on the research that the researcher had conducted. Means he is going to disclose all the information or all the inputs that he had gone through the research process. So there is a format to prepare the research report, that is the table of contents. So table of content consists of the contents that the report consists of. List of examples. So while conducting the research or while preparing the report, he give the number of example based on the research that he had conducted. Methodology of research. So he used to disclose the methodology which he used towards conduction of the research. Research goals. So before conducting the research, he had some research goals that he has to disclose. The research technique that he had used, the results of the research, hypothesis testing and the conclusion. Hence, he got the final solution in the research process. Moving forward, factors influencing the consumer behavior. So as we know, there are two factors that is influencing the consumer behavior. One is the internal factors and the second one is the external factors. These are the two factors that motivates the customer, or that based on these factors the customer behavior is decided. These internal factors are the interior factor that influence the consumer. The external factors are the surrounding factors which influence the consumer. We are already aware of the business environment. The business environment consists of two factors, that is internal environment and the external environment. The internal environment is all about the internal factors inside the organization. External environment are the external factors that influence the organization. In the same way, the internal factors are the internal assumptions of the consumer which influence the consumer. Hence, the external factors are the external factors that influence the consumer. The internal factors are the needs, motivation, perception, personality, values, learning, memory, lifestyle, and the beliefs and attitude of the consumer. What do you mean by needs? Needs are the fundamental requirements that the individual seeks to fulfill through the consumption. So, the needs are classified into two categories. One is a primary need and second one is a secondary need. Primary need is a basic requirement of the individuals. The secondary need is nothing but the desires of the individuals. Second one is the motivation. So, the consumers get motivated to purchase a product based on the needs and wants that the consumer have. Based on his personality, based on his perception, the consumer get motivated towards the product, towards purchasing the product. Next factor that influence the consumer is the perception. What do you mean by perception? Perception is the process which the individual selects, organize and interpret the product or the information. Hence, the person A perception is completely different from the person B perception. Hence, this perception get variated from the one category of people to the another category of people. The next one is the personality. Hence, the perspective of one group of people is completely different from the perspective of the another group of people. The values. What do you mean by values? Values are the fundamental beliefs and the principles that guide the individuals towards the product or a service. Next one is the learning. The learning is the internal factor that influences the consumer towards the product, where he had learned by the education, by the experience that he had made, and also he can learn from the surrounding people. The next one is the memory. Memory is all about the ability of the individuals to recall the information. It is a ability of the individuals to recall and retain the information that he can store, he can use when it is required. Lifestyle. Lifestyle is nothing but the pattern of living of the individuals. Based on their lifestyles, the individual can purchase the product. Beliefs and attitude. These are the internal factors that influence the individuals towards the purchasing decision, where the beliefs and the attitude are completely different from one another. So, it varies from one group of people to the another group of people. External factors. External factors are the external environmental factors that affects the consumer behavior, which affects the consumer to make the purchase decision. The first factor is a culture. So, as we know, one culture is not similar to the another culture. The American culture is completely different, the Indian culture is completely different, the Chinese culture is completely different. Hence, the consumer make the purchase decision based on his culture. So, there are difference between the inhabitants purchase the product in India and also the inhabitants purchase the product in America. Hence, as per the culture, the consumer make the purchase decision. Culture is a factor that affects the decision making process of the consumer. Subculture. Under the each and every culture, there are number of subculture. So, in India, we are going to follow many subculture. Say for an example, the North culture is completely different from the South culture. So, their food habits, their dressing patterns, their attitude, their perception are completely different from one another. Next up is social class. What do you mean by social class? Social class is a group of people who share the equal position in the society in terms of income, education and occupation. The next is a family. The consumer get influenced by the family, or he get influenced by the family members. The last one is a reference group. So around the consumer there are number of people who influence him towards the particular product or a service. Hence this reference group are the people who use the product simultaneously, either the same product or different varieties of product. Hence the reference group is all about the people who use the product where they influence the customer to purchase the product or a service. In the next session, we are going with the unit 2, that is the individual determinants of the consumer behavior. Thank you.